When you walk around constantly wearing your Gryffindor hat and Percy Jackson t-shirts, you're pretty much putting out a magnet for the kind of people who will come up to you on the bus when you're innocently trying to enjoy the Penderwicks for the umpteenth time and tell you that you read too much. My response for these people is that they obviously don't read enough, but I don't listen to them, but there came a day when other events sparked an entirely new inner controversy for me. I actually started to wonder what the point of reading or writing books was at all. When you're a teenager, you find yourself walking on the ledge between a world where your mind was simple and content to be so, and the real world, where everything seems vastly more complicated than you thought it was. When I got to this place, all of a sudden everything needed to have a point, including reading and writing. All my usual excuses for why I needed to spend 90% of my free time with a book in my hand weren't cutting it anymore. It wasn't enough that books made me happy or that they were a sanctuary for me. It wasn't as if I was actually experiencing the adventures or living with the characters. What if books were doing nothing but holding me back from having real experiences? Now, this is coming from the girl who carries books like normal teenagers carry cell phones, who doesn't do Instagram and who really doesn't do Hollister, who has essentially chosen books over normal social life, all because I was under the impression that stories were more than just entertainment. I was beginning to fear that the books I hoped to make one day would do nothing but give people a distraction while they waited for their lives to start. Oddly enough, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, inspiration comes from the weirdest places, so keep an eye out. I had just come home from seeing the movie Saving Mr. Banks about another confused author, and I was wondering what the heck I was going to say at this TEDx talk if I was fearing that writing might be totally pointless. So all of a sudden, I flashed back to a day several weeks before when my desire to get to the point of everything was still lingering, and I was having what I call one of my losing faith in humanity days. So my remedy for this was to go home and write a letter on my computer. And in this letter, I completely let go of everything that had been bothering me for the past few months. When I finished it, I was so relieved, like in those predictable books when the character says he put down a weight he didn't know he was carrying. It's kind of like that. So now it's 2 months later, and I'm thinking about all this, and it finally hits me why that letter made me so happy. It was because, possibly for the first time in my life, I had been 100% myself. There was nothing in this letter that was not pure, unadulterated me, and I finally saw the point of writing. I realized that when I was myself, I was reaching deeper. If I could get that much in contact with myself, I could get through to others on an entirely new level through my words. Through our passions, we have the ability to access this crazy power of self that allows us to do pretty amazing things. If you're a writer, for example, if you pour your heart into a piece of writing, it becomes powerful because human feeling is insanely powerful. But at the same time, it makes you very, very vulnerable because you're revealing so much of yourself. When Mr. Firsch finished reading my manuscript, I told him, "Wow, it feels like you just read my diary." And that pretty much sums up what it feels like to share a work that you've really committed yourself to. It's like you're giving a piece of yourself to the world. This vulnerability adds a deeper meaning to our writing that gives the piece its real power. The more personal the writing, the more power it holds. It's when we have the bravery to be vulnerable that we create truly amazing works that others can relate to and understand whether or not they've met us before. And it isn't just writing that has this power. In every art form, whether it's a sport, a science, music, we find strength through our power of self to take risks, give things up, allow ourselves to be exposed in order to give our gifts to the world. And because we take those risks, our gifts become even more valuable. More than that, they become journeys. When we dig farther into this thing that we love, we can reach out to more people and tell them the story of how we overcame the challenges to make something beautiful. Maybe even give them the strength to do the same. People will pay attention to you if you open up to them. And when people pay attention to you, you have the ability to change the world. If our passions have no other purpose besides revealing this power of self, I believe that is reason enough. So I hope I have succeeded in sharing a piece of myself with you today, because this is my passion. Through sharing words, you know me better. I hope we've made a connection, and I know now that this is the point. Thank you.